the most fun.
All right. Well, as long as you guys are okay with it, like I said, it's going to be a weird one. Yeah, but we're gonna do what we got to do. Host. Well, I guess I should change the name of the title from solo podcast to guests Dave and Loina.
I've got the biggest camera right now. I'm like in the biggest shot.
Yeah.
My voice now, though.
That's okay. So, anyways, yes, three-way. I should just add in Ahkila. I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna add in Ahkila. We're just gonna make this a total clusterfuck. Since everything's a clusterfuck anyways, why not embrace the clusterfuckitude?
Well, if we don't have some eye candy, who will watch?
Yeah, right? Yes, exactly. Let's see if she even answers her Skype. She might not. Yeah, this is the highly professional podcast, Rhevs Palaver. Hello, everyone. We are now live. She didn't answer. That's fine. So
just have a photo up. It will work.
Yeah. So
people would just, like, look at it and say, "Oh, look, a girl," and then it just turns out to be a picture.
Yep. Yep. Oh, is she saying call again? Oh, let's see.
Is it her birthday?
What's that?
No, February 2nd. That's going to it.
How do I call again?
I'll be in.
You right click on her.
I got it. I got it. Yeah, again, apologies to anyone. Ahkila. Okay, now I gotta change the title again to Rhevs Palaver. Dave.
Frank.
Loina. And Ahkila. Okay, so anyways, I actually do have a couple things we're going to talk about tonight, but before I do, actually, you guys go ahead and talk for a second while I fix this disaster that's going on my screen.
What is this disaster that's going on?
Dude, it's...
is everyone's
the US economy?
Really
We have half a ginger and half an Australian. It's not going...
Whoa, Loina. And we've got a 100% virgin.
Oh, shots fired.
Look, I open myself up to these. I don't give a fuck.
Well, I care to be called something I'm not.
All right. That's close enough. Close enough. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I can see all three of you. You guys can see me, right? Everyone can see that. All right.
You're like this big.
That's okay. I think everyone would rather look at you three than me, anyways. This is I'm fine. I don't need to be the center of attention.
Are we including
well, I didn't
that?
want to say anything, but
So, just to give everyone a heads up, I was really excited to talk to one of our new friends, Taintosaur, tonight, a.k.a. Maggie, a.k.a. Ahkila. She's a recent joining to the Proper Nerds, and literally at about 20 minutes to when I'm like, hey, I'm going to call you soon for Skype, she's like, I'm stuck downtown and the trains aren't running. So it's a totally understandable, totally, out of control thing. We don't blame Taintosaur at all. It led to this giant, like, oh my god. And I actually had the screen all set up just to do a solo cast. But, yeah.
And then the colony stepped in.
Yes. Well, we got Ahkila here. She's a American.
Yeah.
The
Totally.
British Empire was here first.
So let me thank my guests in no particular order, other than the order they're appearing on my screen. Dave, who is aka Noah Near, who runs his stream at twitch.tv/Noah Near. He also runs a D&D channel called twitch.tv/the D20 Multiverse. Did I get that right, Dave?
yeah.
Yep, the D20 Multiverse. Then above me we have Loina, aka LoinyPants, twitch.tv/LoinyPants. And then, of course, the prettiest one we have over there, we have Ahkila, who you can watch streaming Star Wars, The Old Republic quite often at twitch.tv/AhkilaDB, and the DB is for Dragonborn, so twitch.tv AhkilaDB. Thank you three for popping on. It's been a while since I did a multi-group cast like this.
I think it was one of the first ones we did. That was the Morley Group podcast.
Yeah, I remember the first group podcast I did with you and Loina's singing of Let It Go. That was quite beautiful.
So the irony is that she still hasn't let it go.
I have not.
You know, I'd forgotten about that, and I think maybe there's a reason why I had purposely blocked that from my mind, but thank you so much.
It was beautiful, okay? It was beautiful and how sad it was.
I didn't realize that was a command in Discord, otherwise I would have deleted it long ago.
Oh wait, that's a command? Hold up.
I think so.
What's the command?
Let it
Give me
go.
1 second. I gotta turn on my AC. The lights are. I'm already schwitzing like a old Jewish man in the sauna. I'll be right back.
So I can't even remember if it is a command.
I don't think it is.
I'm loving watching you guys just put "Let It Go" into Discord chat.
It's not working.
No.
I will find it. I'll go see if Meeseeks has it.
This is how impromptu it is. I didn't even set up my green screen filter. Like,
Well.
that's... So, anyways, guys, I figured I already had a couple topics I was going to talk about, so what better than to talk about them with friends?
I
First of
think
all,
you should just ask the exact same questions you asked Tainosaur, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability.
oh, you know what? That's a great idea, Dave. This is why I love Dave. Dave, that idea is fucking 10 out of 10. So, Taintosaur, I gotta ask, first and foremost, where did you come up with the name Taintosaur? Dave, you start.
Well, I'm really into dinosaurs, and I'm really into the taints of them when the artists draw them. It was the most fascinating part of a dinosaur's body, and yeah, a hobby turned into a passion, and that's what I decided to name my stream as.
That's awesome. Thank you, Taintosaur. Same question to Loina.
A long while ago, on a grinder app long far away, woods are hard, there was a man, we shall call him Taintosaur. He arose from the darkness like he was some sort of magnificent beast. And what happened that night shall remain a secret, but I shall call him Taintosaur.
What
Did
I'm
it
hearing
involve
is
his
he's like dudes, Loina. That's what everyone else heard with that, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, that's gonna lead really well. I want everyone to remember Loina's answer here when I ask Taintosaur the next question. So, Taintosaur, how'd you get that name, Ahkila?
How did I get that name, Ahkila, or how did I get the name?
No, how'd you get the name Taintosaur?
Can I just
Taintosaur
plead
right
the fifth
now.
on this?
Yes, but that's boring.
I mean, Dave had part of my idea with the dinosaur part, but when I hear Taint, I think of
Right.
What? I'm very confused right now.
Ain't the butthole, ain't the vag, it
Yes.
taint either, right?
yes, that's what I think of. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm pleading the fifth.
All right. Okay,
Let's go.
I'm
Let's
going to roll
take
right into
this
the
right
next
now.
question, Taintosaur, because once we get through the Taintosaur questions that I had prepared, we can get to some of the other stuff. So,
Okay.
Taintosaur, it's not an integral thing of your stream, but you are very openly gay. Do you want to talk about that? Loina, go. Talk about being openly gay.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's out.
All right, follow-up question. How's your wife? Ahkila.
How's my wife?
Well, girlfriend, I mean...
No, she's hot as always. Like, she's the hottest chick in the world. And let's just say she's blonde because can't have two gingers because that would just be fucking crazy, man. So she's gonna be blonde.
For those of you who don't know Taintosaur, she has really
can I answer the
awesome,
question?
vibrant red hair that she has dyed, but it's not like natural red, like hot pink red.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You can have two of those type of redheads.
Yeah. Dave, openly gay, go.
Yeah, so I really like the vagina. It really like gravitates to me. I just like that moisture that you feel down there once in a while is just it's good for your sinuses as well. That's one of the pluses that comes to eating vagina.
Moist.
Moist, yeah, it's very, very, very moist. It's a good indicator whether you're doing a good job or not. Loina, take notes. And it ultimately just sorry, Loina just put something in Discord. It just put me off.
Okay, I love Taintosaur, and at the risk of going any further and thinking, and her mistakenly thinking we're making fun of her, we're gonna move on.
I do want to just interrupt and say that Dave's description there sounded like a 13-year-old trying to describe what he thought sex was like.
Yeah, but in fairness, anytime you can work moist into a conversation, you're in good shape.
Yeah, and just for the record, like my D&D games, they have a combination of like all representation from the LGBTQ community. Like we run 2 games, and one of the games we've got a male gay couple. On my personal game that I run, we have someone who is transsexual, someone's going from female to male, and he goes out with someone else that's in our game called Alex, and our artist, Maple, or otherwise known as Olivia as a real name, she's a lesbian as well, so pretty much I think I can take the piss out of it more comfortably because I'm around them enough that we always just joke about it anyway, so... That's my defense in case anyone got mad. It's just I'm used to kind of all taking the piss at each other. So.
I feel very confident saying that all 4 of the people here on stream are very pro LGBT. And without going into any specifics, I will just talk about myself. I always say I remember back in the 80s when taking a stance on gay rights was really shocking. I remember marching with my parents in a gay pride parade, as what we would then what we call now an ally. But back then it was just, yeah, we are supporting fellow human beings, and I mean, I've always been very, so I think that anyone who doesn't know us and watches this might think that we are, taking the piss out of that, but it's the same way that you would do it when you would mock your friends. Obviously, I know for a fact that all 3 of you are also very, pro-LGBT. And that actually, there was actually one thing I wanted to mention to Maggie that is not going to have quite the same effect telling you guys, but I had my first LGBT experience this past weekend, actually.
Which letter?
It was okay. First of all, I just gotta say it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. The taste was something I never thought I would experience.
Fuck you.
It was listen, guys. I'm telling you, it was the perfect crispy rye bread. The lettuce was so crisp. The guacamole was fresh. The tomato, the bacon. It was an amazing lettuce, guacamole, bacon, tomato sandwich like you guys would not believe.
I think you're confusing LBGT with a sandwich.
Oh, wait, you're right. I think I am.
I was going to say, I'm fairly certain that's happened earlier in Rhevs' life.
Yeah, that was a long stretch for a joke. That was a very long stretch.
I don't know, I thought it was a funny joke.
I was going to say, well, I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier.
That was going to be me.
Yeah, I mean, one of these days when I do have to do a solo cast and I just ramble and I get to some point, I might share. Let's put it this way: I've always told people I'm like 11% gay, you know
what? The one thing that does annoy me when it comes to when people talk about sexuality is when people say you shouldn't knock it until you try it. I disagree with that because I have no sexual desire for another man, but I don't need to suck someone else's dick to know that, because I'm pretty comfortable where I am at the moment. I don't need to have an experience with a man to discover that, because I already know.
Well,
I'm fairly certain a spiked butt plug is a bad idea. I can knock it before I try it.
Spiked butt plug? That's a thing?
I'm not sure where that came from, but okay.
That's
Probably.
a thing for real? Like what?
Probably.
I'm sure it's a thing. Please don't Google it. Let's just assume it's a thing and move on. Well, I actually have a response. Someone said that to me once and said, "Oh, don't knock it until you try to go." Dude, there are fetishists who get off on amputation of their own body parts.
Don't knock until you try it.
Go ahead. I go, if you really want to say the don't knock it till you try it thing, I'll talk to you when you come back without half of your leg, okay? Till then, don't give me don't knock it until you try it. But
Well, like, it's like saying like you don't knock it till you try. It's like, oh, all right, should I punch a woman? Would that make my dishes get clean faster? It's like, no, that's not gonna work that way. That's not how it works.
Okay.
So spike bullet
Sorry,
is a thing.
I was hoping for a laugh there.
You can get one made from mahogany, one that looks like Vladimir Putin, one that has the Virgin Mary on it. These are all rather fascinating.
What are you talking about?
Butt plugs.
Okay.
You can get a butt plug shaped like Vladimir Putin.
So, Rev, what else did you have to talk about?
okay, all right, real quick, show of hands. Who among you knows what VidCon is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So VidCon happened recently, and one of the things that came out is there is a I don't know exactly what you want to call her. Let's say pro-feminist video game activist, I guess I'll call her, named Anita Sarkeesian. Again, show of hands if you know who Anita.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but you've been watching Phil DeFranco, haven't you?
Well, I mean, I did watch one of his videos. But this was, I mean, it was all over Reddit too.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So that's just, you know, he's normally the one I get most of my information from when it comes to VidCon.
But this is something I wanted to talk about. I'll give a quick little recap on what's going on and on the history of what's going on. So,
Sure.
Anita Sarkeesian is shrouded in controversy. She basically started a Kickstarter or GoFundMe or one of those things and raised, I want to say, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for investigating misogyny in video games and in video game culture. She took that money and did nothing with it. And then the infamy that she garnered from basically scamming hundreds, if not thousands of people, she then bankrolled into a career as a expert in misogyny in the video game culture. Now, because of this, she's made a lot of enemies. One of which is a very famous YouTuber named Sargon.
Sargon of Akkad.
Sargon of Akkad. Thank you, Loina. Now, at the recent VidCon, which is like a convention specifically for YouTube and streamers and yada yada, she was a featured host on a panel, and during her speech, she pointed out Sargon of Akkad he had been doing nothing but sitting there. And there were some reports that were saying he was filming her, but it's fucking VidCon. People were filming and photographing everything. So he wasn't doing anything. She pointed him out and personally assaulted him. Attacked him verbally and called him all sorts of names and this and that. What she did directly broke the rules of VidCon, and a lot of people were then saying, well, she should be kicked out, she should be banned, she should never be allowed back in. The people who run VidCon, instead of chastising her or anything, apologized to her and wrote a message that basically said, hey, people like Sargon shouldn't show up at these panels.
You missed out one crucial piece of information there.
Okay, please, I'll let you take over. Please, I may not have all the details. You know me, I talk out of my ass. So
yeah.
Please.
So basically, you're right in all that. She did out of the blue attack that particular person. However, that panel, I think the first three rows were occupied by him and a lot of other people that do the similar thing. So they had blanked out 3 rows of seats just to sit there right in front, and that wasn't interpreted as a bit of an intimidation move by him. So that's where the apology came from, is the fact that happened. The fact that she had so many attackers that had previously made a lot of hit jobs on her, on videos. A lot of different hate had been thrown at her from these individuals, and that's why they apologized for basically making her feel a little bit attacked there. Because if you imagine a whole group of people ragging on you for years, and all of a sudden at a panel, they're sitting in the first 3 rows of your panel.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be pretty intimidating.
And so that's where the apology stemmed from. It wasn't the fact of she shouldn't have done that. It is against the rules, but there's a bit of context that goes around of why she did that, and it wasn't right away. It was after a little bit of conversation. But to be honest, if they were all separate, it would be a different matter. If they were just coming to watch a panel, it'd be a bit different. But they deliberately got the first 3 rows. They didn't want to be objective and kind of just sit in the crowd and just listen to the conversation. They specifically chose the first 3 rows to do that.
Okay, Loina, you got
There's
something you
some
want?
missing information here, yeah. First things first, while the conversation had been going before, these were the first words out of Anita's mouth, straight towards Sargon, so i.e. the first chance he got to speak. Second thing is that she then later gave Boogie, who, if you know who Boogie 2988 is, you know he's one of the sweetest people alive, she later gave him shit for even talking to Sargon. And thirdly, when Sargon and whatnot came in, they came in basically late. They didn't come in, they weren't there in the queue, they weren't queuing for this panel. What they did was instead they went, oh, Anita's got a panel, we'll go see that, we'll go listen to her argument. And then when they came in, the front rows were clear because apparently these issues had been talked to death, and so they took the first 3 rows, as you do.
Yeah, but also the Boogie one. I watched Boogie's video on that, and he gives his own account of what happened there. So she was upset with his last comment that he made. The fact of it was kind of the opposite of what it's saying, but he was more promoting the fact of everyone should be involved in the conversation, and she was more of a kind of shut down the haters and block them out kind of thing. So it kind of counteracted her final point, and she got upset the fact that she had no time to rebut, which I agree that she took the wrong move there. The fact of she got all up in arms because she didn't get the last word in the conversation. That's pretty much all she got upset about. So what happened is after the panel, she went to Boogie and she just had a go at him. And Boogie suffers from a lot of anxiety, a lot of things that me and Loina can relate to on social cues and all that jazz. And sorry, just choked on a mint. And after that, kind of, he was taken back and he was visibly distraught. She kind of picked up on that, and then they ended up having a proper conversation, and it ended up quite pleasant. It was blowing up at the fact of she had to go at Boogie for what he said. And after you watch Boogie's video, you understand that technically did happen, but there is more to the story than just that in statement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna stop you guys. Okay, before we go on further afield, I'd love to get Ahkila's thoughts on what we've talked about it so far. Specifically, since you are the only woman on the cast today, I know 100% because I've seen it when I've watched your streams that the way Twitch chat reacts to you is different than the way it reacts to me. You do get comments on your looks. And when you stream, you don't do any, like, you don't use push-up bras, or you just you stream because you love playing the video game, you know.
Yeah.
But I've seen it. So I'd love to get your thoughts.
It's sort of hard to speak on this topic because I haven't not heard anything about this until today. Like, I only recently heard of VidCon because, like, Jenna Marbles, who I occasionally watch, she talked about VidCon in one of her videos that I watched like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, what's that? That must be a thing where like all the YouTubers get together or something. Okay, cool, whatever. So like I never really heard of VidCon until then. So this is the first time of me hearing this situation, and I think to get like a full viewpoint on it, I would actually have to go and watch the videos and the speeches and read the comments and stuff myself. I will say it sounds, to be totally honest, Loina, your point of they all came in late and the front 3 rows happened to be open, that sounds like bullshit that all of the people that have hated on her would all of a sudden just come in late to the front 3 rows. Like,
well,
it's, you know, that sounds like...
I think there's a lot of hyperbole going on.
To me.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of hyperbole going on, too, because, like, if you see one person in the front row there, one there, and then someone in the second row there, and there, and there, and then someone in the third row there, that you would say, oh, Yeah, the front row was, or the first 3 rows were full. I doubt that every single seat in the first 3 rows was taken. And I've been to these cons. What happens is people will show up, and especially if they get up and ask a question and then their question is answered, they're like, okay, I'm going to go catch the next thing, and they'll leave, and then there will be open seats.
Sure.
So I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that the whole claim that the first 3 rows were full of her haters, I'm willing to bet that's being exaggerated a little bit.
Well, just from my experience in going to a couple different, so again, I've gone to like SakuraCon, which is like the anime convention, or SakuraCon. I've gone to Emerald City Comic Con, which is comic convention in Seattle. I've also gone to PAX. And all 3 of those different conventions that are in Seattle every year, if you go to an event or a presentation in there, the first couple of rows, those are always full of the people that want to be there the most.
Mm-hmm.
Those people don't usually leave, at least in the cons I've gone to. They stay there like the entire presentation. So it still sounds a little weird to me to think that like a bunch of people would leave and then all of a sudden all these empty seats would be open, even if it's not all of them, just a bunch of them to like open
To
up.
clarify,
Sit in them.
the first 3 rows means 6 people.
I mean, I have no idea how many. Again, I don't know the layout. Like, I don't.
I
Really
know, as in 6 people came to Sega. So as in 6 people came, including Sargon. Not
Remember,
including the
it
people
wasn't
who
just her
got-
panel as well. It was a combination of people.
Well, let's also say this, just for clarity's sake. It doesn't necessarily have to be that it was 30 people filling up the first 3 rows. It's her perception that the first 3 rows were full of people who were there to intimidate her, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
no matter what the truth of the matter is, I think we can all agree that she felt like their intention was to intimidate her. I mean, we can all agree on that,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
what other kind of reason would you do that?
Well, because it's a convention. I mean, like, if I had spent 2 years bad-mouthing Loina, and all of a sudden Loina's going to be on a panel, and I had a chance to hear what he had to say, I'd show up.
You
I
would
mean-
show up, but you would know, like sitting in the front row would be a little bit kind of pulling the finger at you for the entire kind of.
Sargon was in the
panel.
3rd row. I mean, if that matters. He wasn't front and center. In fact, when you look at the video, you can see her sort of pointing, like, off and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been to these panels before. This is not the first ever. This is not his first rodeo. He knew what
This
he
is
was
his
doing.
first VidCon, yeah.
It's his first VidCon, but it's probably not his first, thing around. I mean, this is not his first convention ever, or first panel he's ever been to. If it is, it was a weird choice to make that your first one, and then sit in the front row, unless you're a complete fucking moron.
3rd row.
But I don't think he's a moron. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and he got a reaction what he wanted.
I mean,
Which is sad that he got
yeah.
what he wanted, but,
I
think
feel like
also-
Sorry, go ahead, Loina.
Something key that's missing here is they weren't breaking any VidCon rules doing this. They could perfectly happily sit there by VidCon rules, so long as they didn't do anything. They would just sat there and silently.
And
I
every
think the
report
community-
says they were not. They did absolutely nothing intimidating. They weren't making faces. They weren't. The only report that even came out that said they might have been doing anything was they were taking photographs or video. But that is something that is 100% common at VidCon. So
So
I do think it's fairly telling. Sorry, I'll have you can have this after this, but I do think it's fairly telling that afterwards there were quote unquote fake news coming out about how they rushed the stage.
all right, go
Yeah,
ahead,
they didn't rush
Akila.
the
Wait,
stage.
hold on. Akila was trying to get something in. Go ahead, Akila.
yeah, sorry.
I sort of lost like my train of thought because that happens with me a lot. But
I feel you.
the point, I believe the original point of like the question that was asked was not like, did they do something bad? It was, did she feel like they were intimidating her? And I do think she did. And also like, even if they didn't do anything, like they didn't go out of their way to attack her, like having a bunch of men or people in general that have attacked you in whatever way, shape, and form, all of a sudden show up to a panel that you're in, even if they sit there with smiles and they're like really happy looking, it's still going to be really intimidating having all those people in one room together. Like, it doesn't matter if they actually do anything. It's the fact that they're all there together in the same area that's going to make pretty much anyone feel uncomfortable.
Well, let's put this one thing down, and then I'm going to say this one thing, and then we're going to kind of put this to rest, okay? no matter what, Anita Sarkeesian felt intimidated. She felt like their intention was to intimidate. Their claim is that was absolutely not the case. They were doing nothing wrong. Okay, so that's it. We're not going to debate whether or not that was intentional, whether or not she should have been offended, whether or not she should have. Okay, so we're going to stop talking about intention because that's it. The fact of the matter is they claim that there was no intention to intimidate. Her claim is she did feel intimidated, right? Okay, so like we can all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the point I want to get to is this. Is her intimidation, which, we're all agreeing she felt intimidated, does that justify her breaking the rules and calling people out, specifically breaking the rules of the convention that she signed up for and attacking members of the, what would you call it, the crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she broke the rules, and there's no disputing that. But you also have to add the context in it, because if you just say this is the law, if you break it, you're out, then yes, she should have been out. But she broke the rules, and the context behind it is this. You have to handle it based on that situation. You can't just have a hold and fast rule and say that's it. I mean, if people start doing it out of the blue, that would be a bit different. If there's no context whatsoever, if I just single someone out and say you're an idiot, or just attack someone out of the blue, and they have nothing to do with the past, or don't have any intention to cause anything, then yes, I should be kicked out. But we have to take in the context that he was in the front row with a group of other people that she identified. The fact that she did feel pretty locked in and pretty intimidated based on their past actions, and that's why she did it. Yes, she broke the rules, but there's more context than just a flat out, you broke the rules, you're out.
I agree, but Dave says, I still think she should have had some consequences for breaking said rules, but I don't think they would necessarily need to be as severe as her, like, getting kicked out and never, I don't actually know what the rule is, but I don't think they would need to be as severe as her getting kicked out and, like, never being allowed to come back. But I think Dave has a really good point. Like, there's a lot of context there, and if you just say that rule without any of the context, like, that's not really looking at the situation fairly. So...
Loina?
I would happily settle for her receiving a warning. Given that she put herself in this mindset that these people are Satan, and she intimidated herself by having these. Sorry, not intimidated herself. She was intimidated by having these people, her critics, in front of her. If at least that's what happened, then I wouldn't mind her having a warning and saying, look, if you do that again, you're out, but we understand.
Well, okay, so my feeling on the matter is this, is the rule that she broke is basically no harassing someone, no singling someone out, targeting them, etc. I don't know the exact wording on it either. But the thing that kills me is that rule is specifically in place to protect people against the exact environment, the exact situation she felt that she was in. So it would be like, no hitting people with clubs. And then she went and smashed someone in the face with a club because she goes, well, they had a club and I thought they were going to smash me. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's very strange that she broke this rule. And one of the and Dave mentioned Philip DeFranco, and one of the things he did bring up is anyone who's an invited guest gets this packet of rules, and that specific rule is on like page 7. So maybe you didn't read it, but at the same time, I don't believe in that ignorance. Like you can't claim ignorance of a rule and break it and expect to get away. I agree with you in theory that context does matter when you're looking at a situation of breaking rules, but to me, this is a pretty clear-cut case. No matter what, no matter how she felt, no matter if she felt intimidated, there were people that were not breaking the rules, and then she did break the rules. I mean, that's the end of it.
To kind of let's have a quote from the organizers of VidCon, because I think they have a say in this, the conversation. So Hank and John Green, also known as the Vlog Brothers, they're the ones that founded VidCon. So they're the ones that had the rules and enforce them and run the whole show. So basically, I'm going to read. I've linked you guys into that article that I'm quoting.
I can't pull it up without messing up.
Yeah,
the
I know
entire
you
stream.
can't, but just in case you want to read it, Ada, I'm just going to read this little thing. It says, the statement then added that Hank Green told Anita that a comment had violated VidCon's policy, but also apologized for not being more active and aware of the situation, which had resulted in her being subjected to a hostile environment that she had not signed up for. So basically how I interpreted that, VidCon saying, okay, we should have been more aware of the situation and not caused it, so we're kind of at fault here. So kicking you completely out for breaking the rules, you could turn around and say, well, you guys didn't provide a safe environment for me. So I think that's the reason why it wasn't a hard and fast kind of you're out. It's because they admit that they messed up a little bit by not being aware of the situation, which is technically their job, is to make sure that their panelists are in a safe environment.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that's why I'm going to stay there. I'm just going to say that.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
It does bode adding that the creators of VidCon share the same beliefs as Anita, or very similar beliefs to Anita.
Wait, say that again?
John and Hank Green share similar beliefs to what Anita pushes.
Yes, but we're not. I mean, it's hard to be neutral in any issue.
Yeah.
But I think the right. Do you think? Here's a question: do we think that VidCon was at fault for not doing anything about this particular situation from the get-go?
From when it happened or before it happened?
So when panelists are showing up,
happening.
yeah, preventing from happening. So the panelists are showing up, and you know their content, you know what they're going to be talking about, and you know also the negative of how some negative people may react. Such as if you do a panel based on homosexuality, you're going to get people that are very against it that show up to the panel to cause some mischief. So for this particular panel, they had panelists that had been given a lot of hate, and that was part of their content. That's just the way in nature it happens. So VidCon would have been aware that they would have a lot of negative pushback. Not saying no negative comments can ever be made, just that they were going to get a lot of kind of groups of some people that may take it to the next extreme. So they had to be aware of it. Now they should have been aware, considering it's VidCon, everything's on YouTube, and these guys are famous because they made YouTube videos against them. They'll be aware that these particular people were at VidCon, or they make a lot of videos, so there'll be a lot of people like them. The fact that they don't pick up on that, the fact that they didn't identify that early on, or at least kind of add some context or kind of do something about it, doesn't lead me to believe that they did everything within their power to make sure nothing negative happens, or even at least just identify that they're in the front row. Maybe they have a conversation. Could you guys move to the back? Could you guys just make sure that, I know, no conversation like that ever happened. So there wasn't any steps to make sure that if they were going to do something, could have they? Yes, they could have stood up and yelled at them.
I think the only place in which VidCon is at fault is if they were not to warn panelists that, hey, some people who don't like your opinion could come in. Which, I mean, this is granted. It's YouTube. You will find people who don't like your opinion in the fucking comment section.
I 100% disagree with that. I don't think Dave's point was that, people might not like your opinion, so they're going to come in. Like, yes, that's the thing that can also happen, but I think the point is with these particular people, it sounds like they're actually, like, hating on her and bashing on her and antagonizing and attacking her, which is very different than just having a different opinion. And especially having a bunch of these people that you've had this issue with it sounds like, again, I don't really know any of these people. Like, I don't watch any of these channels, but it sounds like a lot of these people have had problems with her for years. So, like, that's
and it was well known.
Can I put in here? Because
hold on. Let Ahkila finish her point, please. Sorry, Ahkila. Go ahead. All right. I'm gonna step in here for a second though before you guys go nuts. I want to address one point that Dave brought up. So I think that Dave, you brought up a very good point when you mentioned how the Vlog Brothers, they felt like, hey, we didn't know this backstory, we didn't know this history. But here's the problem I have with their, and I also don't think there's anything wrong with them apologizing to Anita, because if she was in a position where she felt attacked, there is nothing wrong with saying, hey, listen, and especially, I mean, well, there's nothing wrong with it if you believe it, that saying, hey, listen, we're really sorry that you were put in this shitty position. That sucks. You know, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the problem I have. I have a problem with the fact that they've now basically, in their apology to her, they've opened themselves up to a lot of problems in the future. One, people are going to be asking themselves, well, okay, this is what the rules say, but they've shown in the past that they don't follow their own rules. Two, now any history is potentially a reason to break the rules. Okay, so with Anita Sarkeesian, this is one of the biggest names in misogyny/feminism in gaming, right? And obviously, she has got a terrible past. There are thousands and thousands of people who fucking hate her. But what happens when you get someone who's got like 100 or 200 haters? What happens if they have a panel and someone shows up that's a well-known hater of them? What happens if it's just someone who has a troll who never leaves them alone? Where does the line get drawn? Where do the Vlogbrothers, since they've set this precedent for themselves now, where does their responsibility end to know the history of every single person they have? And I'll let you go ahead, Ahkila, because, yeah, go ahead.
I think that they do have some responsibility, but I think, especially with this case happening, that should, if anything, like, open up the discussion for people that do have those known trolls, like you were saying, those trolls that follow you around, those haters that follow you around. Like, if they have really bad issues with these people, I think it should be partially on the job of the presenter to alert the Vlogbrothers, hey, these are potential people that might cause really bad problems for my panel. Can you please keep an eye on these people, because it could be an issue.
You know what, and I know you guys probably have things you want to say, but that actually brings up a really excellent point that I wanted to talk about, which is, okay, first of all, we know she broke the rules by singling someone out. Why didn't she call security? Why didn't she call a member of the staff and say, those guys there, I need them out of the audience. They're here to attack me. I don't feel comfortable.
Supposedly, if they came in because they were late and they came in last minute, she's not going to have time to do that before a panel starts.
Do it in the middle of the panel.
Without stopping the panel.
But I do think that's at fault of her, is that was more of a kind of I don't think she was thinking clearly.
Yeah.
I think it was a very kind of a emotional attack to her, and that a very kind of personal. She didn't know what to do, and if you watch the video, she's not just. It doesn't come from nowhere. She's finished. It's like it's while she was talking, and then pointed him out. So she was kind of in. You know when you get momentum when you're talking about something, and you kind of just keep going random, when something comes to your head, and then you just say it. I think it was that kind of thing, that she had this in her head that this was happening, and then when she was talking about something, it just came up and she just had to get it out. I don't think, like, she's definitely at fault for that. I don't think she handled it well. I don't think she approached it well. But you also have to look at the fact of she never, I don't think she ever intended it to escalate to the point it is. She just didn't. She just didn't really think very well, and I don't think someone should be banned just because of an emotional response that she just did the wrong thing with, because ultimately she did do the wrong thing, but she was also put in a situation that she probably shouldn't have been put in. So it's kind of like you have to, it's two sides.
Okay, so the other thing is, if we're going to talk about past history, right, if we're going to say, well, people should be aware of the past history, I don't think you're going to find you're not going to find many people who will defend Anita Sarkeesian's history. She is not a good woman. She is, like I said, she stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from people and never produced what she basically, you know, like, the reason why, listen, she doesn't just have trolls like Argon of Sakard who go after her because she's a woman. They don't just go after her because they don't agree with her. They go after her because she's a thief. She stole money. She has built a career on her stealing from her fans and constantly lying to the people who want to support her. Like, it's not that her reputation is undeserved.
I should defend her here and say, well, it took her a lot longer to deliver it. 2 years to be exact. She did eventually deliver what she was what she said she would.
Yeah,
That doesn't
for something
excuse
like
her from half of the shit.
yeah, she delivered a documentary that a lot of people said was full of inaccuracies and could have been made for about $10,000, or roughly 2 to 5% of what she raised.
Yeah, I completely agree
also
with the negative side of her. Like, no doubt. But the thing is that we can't use that to judge how she acted. We have to look at it like the fact of she acted this way because of this guy.
My point was not that these were just random internet trolls. These were not just the people who show up in female Twitch streamers chats and say, LOL, show boobs. These were people who...
It never works, by the way. It never works for anyone out there. It never does.
I gotta tell you guys, I hope Lasane's still watching. One of the funniest trolls we had was... Lasane was streaming, and some dude came in, and his Twitch name was I Love White Girl Feet. And he was just like, can I see your feet? And he was so nice and so polite, but it was so creepy. Oh, it was hilarious. But my point is, though, you know, like, as much as you can say she had legitimate beef, she had legitimate reasons, everything that her haters did have very legitimate reasons, too. So when you say, well, you have to go back and look at past history, well, how far back do you go? Like...
I think we're basically saying, like, just because she's a shitty person and has done bad actions, that other shitty people can turn out. I think it's like the Philip DeFranco kind of mentality, is that you have to look at this from a neutral point of view. And the neutral point of view is the fact of the situation which happened. He did it deliberately. I don't think there's any question out there that he was in the front rows on purpose. So that was a deliberate tactic to either send a message or to be intimidating. I don't know whether he wanted to be intimidating, but he definitely wanted her to know he was there.
Well, I'm gonna. So one of the things also that came out about after this was the Vlogbrothers said something like, in the future, it will be illegal for attendees of VidCon to take videos specifically to try to harm or denigrate the guests. So they're sort of making the point that Sargon was in the third row so that he could get good video of Anita. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But again, how do you judge that? How do you judge someone is taking video for what's the word I'm looking for? Maleficent purposes.
Just say evil.
For bad purposes. Versus they're at VidCon and they're taping a panel or they're taping a guest.
It's, again, context. It's the fact of when someone's videoing at VidCon, no one's automatically going to know why they're videoing. It's going to be in hindsight. So if someone does a video of someone, people won't discover that video until after VidCon, unless it was something that's a bit showboaty and that someone's videoing someone standing up and yelling or something like that. That can be a bit suspicious. But I think the real idea behind that is to, if someone does a hit job on someone and then releases it online, because when you release it online, it's pretty clear, especially if you are a commentator, if you are putting your face on screen and commenting on something, you can be easily identified for the future. So I think the rule is not for the moment right there, it's really going forward.
That was my thought too.
What's a hit job if not debunking someone's opinion? Because I could see those being twisted into the same thing, especially in today's age.
A debate and a hit job are two different things. Like, a debate and a conversation is about, like, this is their views, these are my views, and this is why I think it's wrong. A hit job is really just showing the negative sides of a point. It's basically saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is why they're an asshole. That's basically a hit job that doesn't give the proper context to the conversation and is leaving things out.
I would say a hit job for me is something that is unfactual and unfair. However, if you went to, say I need to put up a video, and then you used parts of that video and said, okay, this is your argument, this is why it doesn't work, I don't see that as a hit job at all. I see that as debunking their opinion, and I think that's perfectly fair.
That's not a hit job. No, that's a conversation because you're allowing input from the other part.
That's what the footage of this would have been used for had she not gone and yelled and called him garbage human.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
that he would have
Because
done.
I
Past
watch their
context.
channels.
Past between the
Because
two.
I watch their channels, and that's all they do.
Yeah, but I mean that's a huge assumption.
It is.
No, it's a very minor assumption because it's all they do.
If you've ever watched Sargon of Akkad, it's a pretty safe assumption that
Yeah,
he
but-
would have used that footage in the same way that he had used footage in all of his other videos, which is he really does. Okay, here's a clip of this person saying X, plays that, then he comments on it. Then he plays them saying Y, then he comments on it. Then he's, you know what I mean? And in terms of YouTube, that's as close to a conversation as you can have. That's not like what we're doing here where we can have back and forth. You know,
Yeah,
that is
so
the
that would be a hit job.
I'm sorry, what was that, Ahkila?
What's the person's name? Sargon.
Of a cat. AKKAD.
Yeah, Loina knows him all. Actually, Loina's the one who's linked me to a couple of his videos in the past. I don't really know him that well. I actually know Anita Sarkeesian a lot better just from all the drama and, you know, controversy that happened over the last couple of years. Guys, I just want to point out, we are in the last 10 minutes here, so we are going to...
Holy shit.
Yeah. I had like 3 or 4 topics I was ready to talk about by myself solo, and let me just again... Thank you guys so much for coming by. I just want to, real quick, say once again, and I'll do a shout out in chat. Shout out to Dave, aka twitch.tv/Noah for stopping in. He does a great podcast. He does World of Warcraft a lot. He also has another channel, the D20 Multiverse, which we were a thing we might talk about, but we did not get a chance to talk about. Thank you very much for stopping by, Dave. And shout out Loiny Pants. Thank you very much, Loina. You are, as always, a good friend. Loina was actually the first person in my Rhevs Palaver way back on episode 1. And of course, thank you for joining us a little bit just as we got started. I can't thank you enough. In my opinion, the best Star Wars The Old Republic streamer that you can ever watch. And with a great community, like your chat, whenever I step in your chat, people are just, you know, like you have a great chat going. So shout out to Ahkila DB. Thank you so much, all 3 of you. I really appreciate this. As I said, I was supposed to talk to Taintosaur tonight, and I do want to kind of wrap things up here. But I can't thank you guys enough for just jumping on at a moment's notice. And apologies to anyone who's watching. I know that the stream looks like crap today, but hopefully the conversation has been interesting. So I want to wrap things up, and I'm going to give everyone a chance to give final thoughts. But I feel like there is no right or wrong answer in this case. I think that there's obviously a lot of issues to untangle and unpack. And I personally don't fall down on one side or the other. The only thing that really bothered me personally is it's very clear cut. She broke a rule, and she is not in any way being censored or punished or anything for that. And I feel like that their response, while it might have been warranted, sets a very bad example for future VidCons. And I think that for the Vlog Brothers, that may have been a misstep on their part. So I'm going to go ahead and let everyone get their last words in. Dave, why don't you go ahead and wrap up your thoughts, and we'll get this whole thing wrapped up here.
Yeah, so just for the people that are on the panel, I did link in the article I was referring to in our little Skype chat. So you can click that if you want more context about what's going on. But basically, I think for the record, I don't like her. I've seen her content. I've seen the arguments against her as well, and I've seen different views of her content. And to be honest, I don't think she's a good representation of feminism and being basically a YouTuber in general, of having an honest conversation. That said, she has some very valid points. I do think she acted irrationally when it came to dealing with the situation. There is definitely a better way she could have handled it. But I do think that he definitely, his group, because he was with a group, definitely did it deliberately. So I think VidCon I believe this is the outcome of the situation is her warning from VidCon is basically, yes, you messed up, and we can admit that we were at fault as well. But if it happens again, and I don't think anyone, this will be like a warning for everybody. I don't think it's just for her specifically.
Wrap it up.
I think it will be everyone. Yeah, sorry. That if they do it again, yeah, they're going to enforce the rule. I think this is I think this is the first time it's ever really happened in such a public forum, and everyone's now basically on notice going forward.
All right, thanks. All right, Loina, your wrap up of the events.
Real quick.
I think their failure to warn her was a mistake.
Looks like Dave's got someone at the front door there. I'm sorry. So go ahead, Loina.
I think their failure to warn her was a mistake.
Okay.
Simply.
You think that the Vlogbrothers should have been more aware of the situation and?
I think they should have warned her for, going off on Sargon.
Okay. All right. And Ahkila.
To condense my opinions.
Actually, on my point, my opinion is really similar to Loina's. I don't know enough about what happened to really formulate like a solid opinion, but from what I've heard so far, it sounds like she did not get any type of like, hey, don't do that, and it was more of a, oh, we're so sorry, which might have been justified, but also like she probably should have gotten some type of warning or something as well, because it does come off from what I've heard that she got no warning, no punishment or anything, which is not a good precedence to set for future VlogCons.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think that is sort of the big thing for me, is that the precedent that it sets for the future. I mean, ultimately, it's done. It's in the past. What are they really going to do? Other than maybe not invite her back in the future, which that might happen anyways. But yeah, I think you're right. That sort of is one of my big concerns, is sort of the precedent they set for themselves, and how is anyone going to take the rules seriously if there's this argument? Well, all I got to do is say that, yeah. Guys, listen, again, thank you. You three are such good friends. I really, really appreciate it so very much. Dave, Loina, Ahkila, thank you guys so much for stopping in. And to everyone else who's watching, hopefully we will get Taintosaur on next week. As I said, she had... It's nothing she could do about it. She messaged me. She's like, I am stuck downtown. There's a problem with the trains. I can't get home. What are you going to do? It's unavoidable. It's beyond her control. So hopefully we will have Taintosaur back on. Maybe next week. I can't say for sure. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I'm going to do... Hey, Zale, we're just wrapping up. I'm going to... toss a host over to one of the newish people who just joined our Proper Nerds Discord tonight. And I like to wrap up my stream by usually giving my guest the final word. But since there's three of you, I'm going to have the final word. And then we're going to say goodbye. And we'll go ahead and toss the host over. So I think today's final word is going to be Jello Pants. Bye-bye, everyone.
Just had an intelligent conversation.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Farewell. What?